Greetings, everyone. I am going to share some things with you, holding back as much as is necessary for my privacy and that of my family, and also taking account of the fact this is social media and that it can be used for good. Having said that, I'm going to hold some information that is critical to the well-being of my family. Just giving you enough information that if you are experiencing some of these things, you understand that you're not alone, and that hopefully I will empower you to do something about what we're going to discuss. For those of you who are with me, who are here for a long time, you would hear me speak about mental health. I did a segment with my daughter talking about, answering some questions as it relates to mental health. She has a degree in psychology, and I've done extensive research in different areas of mental health. I have worked in facilities that deal with mental health, and I have studied extensively. I've had first-hand experience in dealing with issues with family members who are mentally ill. So I'm not going to discuss diagnosis. I'm just going to talk about treatment, and I'm also going to talk about advocacy, how important that is for you as a Black parent, but also recognizing symptoms, as well as when it's necessary to recognize the inadequacy that exists within the system as it relates to Black people. The way mental health or the delivery of mental health care for Black families is far different from it is for example, white folks. And if you're a parent with someone with mental health problems, or if you are a husband or wife with somebody and you happen to be in the Black community, the care and delivery of mental health to our people is lacking. And the reason why I'm speaking out today is because I'm here to say that we don't want to remain silent about it anymore. And so I'm going to ask you to watch this video. And after you're finished watching it, I'm not going to ask you to like something before you even finish watching it. But when you're finished, I'm going to ask you to like the video, share the video if you know someone who's going through the same thing. And I think when you bring about awareness, and sometimes when you speak the truth, and individuals who are in positions to be able to do something about it hear it, something about the way it jars people who are good people. When they hear you speak the truth without any kind of censor, they might be able to do something about it. I'm going to say that in Canada, and I can't speak for anywhere else. I've lived here in Canada for far longer than I have lived in my country of birth. So, as a Canadian citizen, with children that are born in this country, barely know anything about my homeland, I'm going to say that we are entitled to appropriate care. And as far as I'm concerned, it's time for the discrimination to end. Now, as a mother who had a young child that was exhibiting some what appeared to be behavioral problems when she was very young, I sought help very early. I am not like one of those Jamaican parents that when the kids start acting out, you say lick them or beat them or whatever. I didn't do that. I was working at a crisis center, and during my training, someone mentioned, we were talking about self-harm in that session, and we were talking about the symptoms. So many of these individuals who know that you're the doctor, you're the psychologist, or you're the individual who gets to make this decision, make these horrible decisions. And if you're lucky and you have someone to advocate for you, and you find out that your child is misdiagnosed or your child is given the wrong medication, and you can fight against that and kick against that, lucky, hope to do for your family. But if you're someone who thinks that these persons who are in position of power should be trusted, and that you allow them to give your kids or your family member drugs that could potentially harm them, Some of the drugs that they get actually make them worse. Pushing drugs. Sometimes you see drugs that when you research it, it's more dangerous than the symptoms that are being exhibited. And they expect you to go away. I'm speaking out because in the last year, I am told that 10,000 persons with mental illness suddenly decided to do, that thing where they bring everything to the end. These are the kind of things that are happening in Black families. This is why you're looking on the street and you're seeing people with mental health problem on the street, with family members who just either give up, or sometimes family members don't know what to do. They love their family member, but there are times when the crisis is so great that they cannot stay at home because they pose a risk to themselves or to others, depending on whatever diagnosis that person is given. I'm not going to stay silent. And when you're an advocate for your child, these individuals don't want you to be part of the process. All of a sudden, a person who is not able to make proper decision is then given that power to make a decision to exclude you, to not share information with you. They cut you out. They have done that to my own child when it was very early that they could have caught and treated. They gave the power in the hand of a teen, a young teen. There's also something I want to talk about before I end this video. If your family member has had a history of mental health and at any point gets in trouble with the law because of that illness, their recourse is to remove that situation from the hand of individuals who want to criminalize your child or your family member. The fact that there are individuals who are deliberately pushing chemicals, not so that their patients can get better, but so that they can get money from pushing those things. It's a complete shame and it's a disgrace. Now, what I want to say to the mom or the family member who has to deal with these issues, it is very difficult. It depends on what the diagnosis is. If you are not careful, you yourself will need counseling. You yourself will have to go for help. You yourself will fall into crisis because it is very difficult. And people who don't have to deal with this, they will never understand. I would encourage somebody who either has mental health problems or families, because people often ignore the families, the crisis that they go through, and encourage these ones to seek support. There are always these support groups. There are always opportunities, and people often don't know of it, of course, how you can go to help in the healing. And there is always alternative medicine, of course. Sometimes you might have to go to naturopath. In fact, I'm saying that is highly recommended. But when you are asked to step aside, you don't have to agree. And no matter how overwhelming it is, if your family member is exhibiting any of these varying symptoms of mental health challenges, there's help. Seek the help. Get a team. You cannot do it by yourself. Get a team, social workers, people who advocate for people with mental health. They're good people in the system. You gotta get a team. You cannot do it by yourself. And if you try to do it by yourself, you will need help for your own well-being. It's time for the system to change. And time for these persons who are in positions of power to stop abusing their power. And it's time for our Black families to not continue to see their family members fall through the crack. And it's time that family members, especially parents, get the opportunity to advocate on the behalf of their young ones before things get to the advanced stages. Sometimes when these things are caught early, the outcome is good. But the continued taking the power out of the hand of the family and giving it to a child is wicked, is desperately wicked. And a person with mental health problems will more than likely not be able to make decision about what is in their well-being. Depending on what that mental health problem is, they might not even know or be aware that they're suffering. Illusions of grandeur, there are different varying degrees. It's not an easy thing. And as I said, you need a team of experts, and you need your family, a very strong, united front. Otherwise, you will watch your family members fall through the crack or make some decisions that are far-reaching. There's so many young ladies who have mental health problems, and they end up getting pregnant from unscrupulous men who know that they're mentally ill and take disadvantage of them. And they have children that end up going through the system because their families can't afford to take those babies. It is just heartbreaking. It's horrible. And of course, there is varying levels of severity when it comes to this. But I felt like I had to speak out today. And if you can relate to what I'm saying, say it in the comment section. Share the video. And keep in mind that when I share my story, my personal story, it isn't something that anyone can throw back in my face. I share it when I'm comfortable to share it. And I share it because I think it's going to benefit other persons. And I can be on the internet with my buffoonery and, say the things and promote the things that the algorithm likes. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use my time here on social media to make a difference. And if it gives me 5 followers or 3 followers, that can then, share with 3 persons, and those 3 persons share with 3 persons, and the message is sent and received, then I'm going to be happy. Stay blessed, everyone.